My name is Travis Starr. I'm the resident agent in charge of the Homeland Security Investigations Casper office. We're here today to donate a fossil that was recovered pursuant to, I'm going to say HSI because it's too hard to say Homeland Security Investigations over and over. Fossil that was recovered during a fossil trafficking investigation that was done by HSI Casper agents from 2012 to 2019. But before I get into that, I wanted to give a quick overview of what HSI is and who we are and why we would be investigating this. So Homeland Security Investigations is the investigative component of Department of Homeland Security. We're basically charged with investigating transnational criminal organizations who try to exploit the global infrastructure of trade, travel, and finance. So basically, we investigate cross-border movements of contraband involving, could be people, commodities, or money. That's the short of it. We have about 10,000 employees nationwide, comprised of special agents, criminal analysts, mission support specialists, and contract personnel. We have about 6,800, special agents, and they're assigned mainly to our domestic offices, which we call Special Agent in Charge offices or SAC offices. And we have 220 offices throughout the United States. We also have about 3,700 task force officers from federal, state, and local partners that help us investigate transnational criminal organizations and individuals, violating customs and immigration laws. And we also have a large international footprint. We have about 200 special agents assigned internationally to 84 countries and about 54 offices throughout the world. We're assigned at the various embassies and consulates. So that helps us because most of these crimes start globally, internationally, and end up being imported here. And that's what these fossils were. The case involved mainly Chinese and Mongolian origin fossils that were imported illegally because China and Mongolia have very strong cultural heritage laws, especially when it comes to prehistoric fossils, and they cannot be exported, and thus to import them into the United States is illegal. So Casper agents started this investigation in 2012. They received it from an actual tip line because there was an individual reported that there was a retail store in Wyoming selling a fossilized Tyrannosaurus Rex Batar skull that was actually imported contrary to US law. And that actually originated because there had been a media story prior to that of another auction somewhere else in the United States where they were selling a complete, full skeleton fossil of a Batar T-Rex, and Mongolian government was actually contesting it. So the agent started what we call a cultural property antiquities investigation, and they went from 2012 to 2019. There was a few individuals prosecuted in 2014, but they continued to recover these fossils based off the investigation up to 2019. All in all, agents were able to recover 63 fossils of Chinese origin, valued at approximately $1.5 million, and 18 fossils of Mongolian origin that was valued over $6 million. So you can see why there's this illicit global network of traffickers of these things because there's value in it. So their investigation identified sources of supply over in France, Japan, Germany, Canada, and multiple places. So it's a global trafficking network because this network specifically specializes in these type of fossils of trafficking them and importing them to the US for sale. So that's basically the short of it. The agents did a great job, and when it comes to Homeland Security investigations, philosophy on these type of investigations is actually the recovery of the fossil and repatriating it back to its country of origin because it's important to that country's cultural identity and ethnic heritage, as well as the true beneficial owner should have right to this. So that's basically the short of it. And we wanted to donate this fossil in particular because it was not repatriated. From my understanding, all the other fossils were repatriated back to Mongolia and China. Mongolia declined to repatriate this one, so one of the agents that's here now decided, we had the idea like, well, why instead of keep it in the warehouse, why don't we donate it to the museum so people can see it? And that seemed like the best outcome to do, so that's what we're doing here today.
You are one of our fossil experts here at the Tate, so tell us a little bit about what we got here.
First I'll tell you who I am. I am JP Cavagelli. I am the prep lab manager, field trip organizer, and collections manager here at the Tate Museum at Casper College. Been here 19 years. And so what we've got here is a baby Psittacosaurus. If you want to see that spelt out, it's right there. It's a silent P, which happens a lot in this business. Insert joke here. Named after parrots. Parrots are the order Psittaciformes. And these things as adults had very parrot-like beaks. So it's parrot dinosaur. Parrot lizard is what it really translates to. The adults, anyway, are very common fossils in the Gobi Desert, which incorporates China and Mongolia, mostly Mongolia. And eggs of these things are known from out there. Babies are known. This one is apparently an embryo. It's pretty unique. I don't know how many embryos are known from out there. Most embryos that I know of are found in nest sites. This one is isolated. Maybe that's why the Mongolians didn't want it back. I don't know. Maybe it's out of context. This one spent some time at the Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman, and they did a little thin sectioning on it. They took out the back leg bones here, the tibia and the fibula, and they made thin sections, which are these little slides. There's not much to look at here, but in there is a thin section of one of these bones, and you can look at these things in a microscope and get an idea, based on the cell structure, get an idea of how old this thing actually was.
Well, so how old and when did it roam the earth?
Oh, when did it roam the earth?
And does it still roam
Well,
the
I don't know
earth?
if it actually roamed because it's embryonic. It might have never come out of the
Right.
egg. But its parents roamed the earth about, 100, now let me see. I have to think about it. 80 million years ago, late Cretaceous, but not latest Cretaceous. It is a close relative of our state dinosaur here, Triceratops, and also of Torosaurus, which we have a nice skull here in the museum. So it'll end up on display here. We're gonna have our resident artist and educator, Russell Hawley, who's gonna make a beautiful drawing, because he only makes beautiful drawings. He's gonna make a drawing of this thing so we can have it interpreted for the public to see. When they look at it, they say, I don't see much. But if they look at Russell's drawing, they'll say, aha, that's cool. So.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing story. An 80 million year trip from Mongolia to end up in Wyoming, Casper. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. I wanted to also, I'm sorry, sir.
Go ahead.
No, I wanted to also say there's the 2 retired special agents that investigated, that did this investigation here as well. I'll allow them to
Give them a
introduce
shout
themselves
out,
if they want
too.
to.
But quick question, what's the rules on fossils found in Wyoming? Because we have plenty.
Well, the
You
Wyoming
find it here?
origin, you're better versed with that because again, Homeland Security focuses more on cross-border movements like importation, exportation. So I'm assuming though, if somebody tried to take a fossil out of Wyoming and export it, that would be contrary to law,
problem.
and they would be also liable for criminal
sorry, sir.
prosecution.
That's not quite right.
That's not quite right. Well,
He
it should be.
says,
I'm telling you right now, it should be.
okay.
The laws in the U.S. are such that you have to have landowner permission to collect it, and landowner permission then transfer ownership. That's nitpicky, but if you have permission to collect it, generally you have permission to own it, and stuff can be taken out of the country. Getting permission from the landowner, if it's public land, much more difficult because you have to have a repository and you have to have permission to collect it from the federal government or the state government, and those are not allowed to leave the country, as far as I know.
All right.
And if they do leave the country, they have to come back.